Hello everyone and welcome to the BoP Test. Of course we are testing Group 3s. We're trying to get up to speed again with the BoP Test. Get them all done and dusted so you have the information that you need to pick the car that you like to drive. This week, if you haven't already guessed from the thumbnail of course and the title of this video, it is the Mclaren 650s GT3, which recently has just come to life in the Nations Cup out of nowhere. Or is it out of nowhere? You'll find out shortly. And we're putting that up against the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car. Now, both of these are MR cars, of course, so it's a good competition versus each other, and also versus the previous time we did this, which was the Audi R8 and the Ferrari 458 GT3 cars. So, lots of MR cars to compare against, first of all. Check out the description if you want the full car profile for these cars. Remember, I have done these in the past. All Group 3 cars have car profiles. Let's jump to Suzuka now. Let's have a look at that Mclaren 650s GT3 car. Here we are then at Suzuka, and you're probably like, Tidge, why are we starting here? Well, you're about to see why and how I push the limits, as you're about to see. Round we go. You spin me. No, I won't start singing. So you can see that I was pushing the limits at 130R. It didn't quite work out this time, but as always, I'll show you my fastest laps. Yes, lap number 10 is going to be my fastest lap. As you see, lap number 8 was a 57.4, and you're probably going, Tidge, that's faster than the Audi. This car is very fast, which is a little bit of a surprise to me, and now I understand why it's top of the Nations Cup leaderboards at the moment, because it is pretty damn good. So coming into here, I did suffer with a little bit of oversteer initially, and then a lot of understeer. You see, I ran a little bit deep there, just missed the apex. I'm going to run wide here on the exit. Now, as I say, the car profiles are down below, and as I've always said with the Mclaren, it suffers from understeer, and it's unusual because most of the MR cars don't suffer from understeer at all. This is the one exception, but even so, it's very stable because of that. There's a little bit of weight transfer in the rear, but nothing major. And the one thing that I found when I originally did the car profile on the Mclaren, and this was back in 2018 as well, is that it's rapid in a straight line, and it is still the case right now, to be honest with you. And I think that's the key to the car a little bit. It's very fast in a straight line. It can still handle itself very well in a corner. There's just a little bit of understeer there, and you could argue the power is probably a little bit of cause of that. So if you're not aware at all on Gran Turismo Sport, weight transfer in the car is quite extreme in any car. So when you accelerate, obviously the front wheels lift up. This has quite a lot of power. It doesn't have initial acceleration, but when it gets going, it's obviously hauling some. Maybe the front comes up because of that. I don't know. So we enter spoon. Again, I was suffering with a little bit of understeer throughout this. You can see there, trying to rotate it with the gears more than anything, which you can do in this car. It's very nice to do that. Obviously, if you do that with tyre wear, that's going to be an issue, and we'll look at tyre wear in a little bit. As we head now towards 130R once again here, and we're going to chuck it in. Happy days, absolutely pushing the limits there. Through we go as we head towards the Casio triangle. Hit the brakes, try and get it stopped as best as we can. And just run a little bit deep there, nothing huge though. Cut how we normally cut as we exit, stay in second gear. You can see how stable it was there. And as we head towards the line, we just are going to beat our previous fastest lap there, 0.413. But as always, we are focused on that optimum. And that optimum is down to a 0.274. That is fast. That is really fast, actually. So that surprised me quite a lot because that's faster than the Audi. And I expect the Audi to be the quickest out of all the cars because I use it the most. But even so, McLaren seems to have gone straight up there. As we accelerate, yeah, it's got no acceleration whatsoever. In fact, you will see later on how slow that actually is as we get to 100 there in 8 seconds, or 8.1 essentially. And look at the AI car. It's overtaken us. The AI car has literally gone past us. And you will, as I say, you will see where it is on the leaderboard after. We have a leaderboard now for 0 to 100 as well, so that information will be there for you. As we come through here, so obviously if you're not aware of this test, times 10 tyre wear, times 10 fuel, 4 laps, just flat out racing. What's the tyre wear and fuel going to end up like? And I show you the first lap, and then we just jump to lap number 4 just to show you the results, essentially. So coming into here, third gear, standard here really. And again, I suffered with a little bit of understeer, really risking that dark green AstroTurf. I will make a little bit of a confession actually. I accidentally did a 2-lap race with the Mclaren and didn't realise. So I'm slightly better than I normally probably would be essentially. I know the first lap on my 2-lap race was a 0.3 and this one was a 0.0. But I actually slowed down a lot more for the AI car rather than the lap. So I think that might be the reason for it. Obviously that AI car is going to be a considerable problem because it overtakes us. Anyway, we're just going towards the end of Sector 2 now. You can see it's handled itself okay. No big dramatics here. And I found that throughout the entire session, actually. The tyres seem to last pretty okay, to be honest. Same for the fuel. The fuel is pretty decent, to be fair, as we come through here. Now, because it suffers with the acceleration part, the tyres don't spin up as much either in the McLaren. So it's kind of interesting. I actually would go brake balance towards the rear here. But we're going to head towards that line. You can see that fuel down in the bottom right-hand side. You do rev this car to the limits as well. As we head towards the line, that is going to be 18% fuel, which is pretty damn good. That's actually one of the highest that we have. And look at those lap times. They're all in the 30s. We don't have a car that's done that in all of the tests. As we jump now to the tyre wears, and you can see that 82, 80, 75, 64, it's basically the same as the Audi R8 in terms of tyre wear. But I would argue it's a little bit safer in terms of its stability. Suffers with a little bit more understeer, but the speed helps with that. You know, keep up the pace. Interlagos going up the hill, it absolutely flies, and we saw that there. And he gets a 607.9, which is not the fastest, but it was the start that caused that. It's basically a second slower than anything else, so then it would have been a 609.9 rather than a 607.9. But we'll look at that after anyway. So the McLaren, an interesting one. We're now going to put it up against the Lamborghini. We're starting a normal lap this time. So we're starting lap number 5 here. So we're down to 57.5 already in the Lamborghini. Now, the Lamborghini, as I've mentioned in the previous car profile, is a bit of a killer. It absolutely wants to kill you. I found that throughout here. You can see that trying to rotate itself already, trying to rotate itself again. The minute you change down a gear, it's like, oh, happy days, we're going drifting. That's what it tends to do here. So you really have to try and balance this car a lot. And I mean, a lot of overlaying, a lot of balancing the throttle, really try and control the car. We'll obviously look at the tyre wear shortly because it gets a little bit sketchy then as well. But you can see we're slightly up here. Not too bad. In terms of Sector 1s, all the MR cars are around about the same. Where I'm seeing the difference, it's actually Sector 3. Obviously with the long back straight there. The power cars come into their own. I mean, at the moment, Suzuka, while I would call it a balanced circuit, is a little bit more favoured towards the power cars than it is towards handling. Now, it's very patch dependent. So if obviously we went back to the oversteer patch rather than the understeer patch we have now, it'd be very much more a handling circuit rather than a power circuit. It varies, which is a good sign that it's actually a balanced circuit, and I mentioned that in the previous video in terms of this BoP versus that we do. See, we're up here, heading towards Spoon. The Lamborghini does suffer with a little bit of understeer, I actually found. I don't know if that's the power, of course, but yeah, I'm not too sure. But again, you can do the same little trick here, drop the gear, it will rotate itself automatically. And we continue on out of Spoon now. We head up to 130R here. Again, we're on for quite a quick lap here. 1.5 tenths up on a 0.5, which puts us well down towards that 0.3. And we actually do one of the fastest 130Rs there. And we actually go even quicker on the last lap. I will tell you now, my last lap, last sector that I did, lap number 10, was ridiculously good. That would have been like a world record sector, I would imagine. It'd be very well up there. I'm not going to show it, because it wasn't the fastest lap, but it was... yeah, it was pretty good. But you can see we get down to a 0.4 there. And obviously we have a few more laps. And what do we get down to? Well, as I say, with that last sector, we get down to a 0.2 as well. 0.297. I think it's actually a little bit more slower than the McLaren overall. As I say, I got lucky with that last sector. You can see that's the only time I was in the 0.6s with the Lamborghini. Anyway, tyres and fuel this time. Let's see what it's like with acceleration. As always, traction control on 1 till we change gear. And then we'll go to 2. As we head towards 100 miles an hour and 7.150. It's nearly a second quicker to 100 miles an hour than the McLaren. That's quite a big difference, you know, in terms of race. So, you know, if you are doing grid starts, keep that in mind because the McLaren is rather slow, especially if it's a long straight afterwards. Interlagos, I would argue, is fairly quick. Now, obviously, times 10 tyre, times 10 fuel in this Lamborghini. You see a little bit of the understeer there. It's not good. Trust me when I say this car wants to kill you at the best of times. When tyre wear is this extreme, it really wants to kill you. And I struggled. With a lap and a half to go, I really struggled with this car. As you see, we are trying to use all the track limits here. I'm showing you this lap just to show you what I'm doing. You know, you can argue, am I changing gears wrong, etc. By the way, if you want to see a particular car go up head-to-head next, make sure you put that in the comments as we head to this intersection. Now, I stayed in second gear here. I would argue that maybe some people would go to first. I kept it in second. I was trying to survive here. I knew a little bit that if I went to first, it'd get more oversteery, and the last lap would be even more sketchy than it already was. Comes this braking zone. You can see the rear already trying to come out there in this Lamborghini Huracan. And as I said, the car profile for this down below. So if you really want the details of this car, check that car profile out. The thumbnail's been updated for you, of course. As we hit the left-hander now, What we'll do is, we get a nice lovely exit there actually. We're going to advance to lap number 4 again. Happy days, there we go. 130.7, 131.294. I can tell you now we are really far down because look at that right rear tyre. It is shocking. As we head towards the line here, quite good fuel in the grand scheme of it. Sort of middle of the road there, 11%. Very good at fuel saving, this Lamborghini, but we'll talk about fuel saving in a second. Let's have a look at the tyre wear quickly here. As you can see here, so we have 81%, 82%, 70 and 59 on that right rear. Nasty. That is one nasty tyre wear. That yes, it wants to kill you, so you lose more tyre wear than ever, and then obviously that wants to kill you even more because you have less grip, and so the cycle continues. And you can see at 609 there, that's how bad it is, the tyre wear. It literally is because of the tyre wear why it's like that. So, you know, Lamborghini should be one of the fastest, so that 0.2 I would argue is representative. So here we are with the Suzuka times. There's McLaren into the lead there, 57.274, followed by the Lamborghini Huracan, 57.297, and then there's a 10th gap then to the Audi R8. A lot of people would argue actually the Audi R8 is a slightly less version than the Huracan, but it's a little bit more stable as well, so it's sort of like, do you know what I mean? I mean, if you master the Huracan, you are in a better car than if you mastered the R8, but it's a little bit close like that. So let's jump to Interlagos now. Let's go through some of the other details for you, just so you have the tables there all up for you. 0 to 100 then. Obviously the Ferrari is the quickest we've had so far. Lamborghini up into P4. The McLaren, bottom. It's slower than the Mazda. I don't even know how that's possible because the Mazda was slow. The McLaren is shocking. I couldn't believe it when I read those times. And then you have the time, the overall times there as well. So you see McLaren in P4. It was a second slower on the line, and yet it's 4th in overall time. Bit crazy that to me. You can see the fuel and tyres there as well. So the McLaren 650s, highest on fuel there and very high on the leaderboard. So I'd actually argue it's a pretty damn good car, to be honest, at the moment, this McLaren. So, you know, if you're looking for a stable MR car, probably one to pick. In terms of the Lamborghini, a little less fuel there. The tyre wear literally the lowest, which is expected just because of how the car handles. So yeah, that is the Lamborghini and the McLaren. As I say, if you do have a car that you want to see next, you know, go up against these folks and into the leaderboards, let me know in the comments below. If you like this, make sure you like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. In a second you will see the videos on the screen, so you can look at the car profiles more in depth. As I say, these are quick comparisons to get the performance back up for the cars, and my logo's there if you want to subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel. But that's going to be it for me now, folks. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in a video or live stream again very soon.